The sun hadn't yet risen over Lake Michigan when Maya Johnson slipped out of her cramped apartment. At 17, she had mastered the art of leaving quietly, careful not to wake her exhausted mother or her younger brother Tommy, who needed all the rest he could get. The morning air was crisp, and Maya pulled her worn swimming jacket tighter around her shoulders as she walked the familiar path to the lake. Her swimming bag, patched in 3 places but still holding strong, bounced against her hip with each step. Inside were her goggles, swim cap, and a threadbare towel. Humble tools for someone who had broken every swimming record at her high school. Maya checked her phone. 5:15 a.m. Perfect timing. She had exactly 2 hours before she needed to head back home to get ready for school. These early morning practices were her secret weapon, the reason she remained undefeated in local competitions despite not having access to a proper swimming pool like her competitors. As she approached the lake, Maya noticed she wasn't entirely alone. A few early joggers dotted the shoreline, and an older man was setting up his fishing equipment near the pier. They were regulars, just like her, each chasing their own dreams in the quiet hours before dawn. Maya found her usual spot, a section of the beach where large rocks created a natural marker for her swimming distances. She quickly changed into her practice swimsuit, a hand-me-down from a kind senior who had graduated last year. The suit was slightly faded, but still did its job. Before entering the water, Maya went through her warm-up routine. Stretch, breathe, focus. Her coach, Mr. Thompson, had taught her these exercises during the free training sessions he offered after school. He saw something special in Maya, even when her family couldn't afford proper training. The water was cold, it always was, but Maya had long since learned to embrace it. She adjusted her goggles, tucked her dark curls under her swim cap, and waded in confidently. The first few strokes were always the hardest, but soon her body found its rhythm. Back at home, piled on her small desk, were college brochures and scholarship applications. Swimming was her ticket out, her chance to help her family escape the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. Her mother worked 2 jobs, one as a hospital cleaner and another at a local diner, but Tommy's medical bills kept piling up. Maya pushed herself harder, her strokes becoming more powerful as she thought about her brother. Tommy had been diagnosed with a rare respiratory condition 3 years ago, and the treatments were expensive. Insurance covered some costs, but not enough. She could still remember the night she found her mother crying over a stack of medical bills, trying to figure out which ones they could afford to pay that month. The water embraced her as she glided through it, each stroke perfectly executed. Maya had learned to swim at the community center when she was 6, and something about the water just clicked. In the water, she wasn't the girl from the struggling family or the student working part-time to help with bills. In the water, she was free. As the sky began to lighten, more people appeared on the shore. Maya kept swimming, pushing herself to complete her training routine. Mr. Thompson had helped her design it, adapting professional training programs to work without proper facilities. Natural water resistance, he'd said, can be just as good as any fancy pool. Maya's muscles burned pleasantly as she finished her final lap. According to her waterproof watch, she had beaten her previous time by 3 seconds. Small victories, she thought, add up to big wins. As she walked back to shore, Maya noticed more activity on the beach. A few expensive cars had parked in the lot, and she could see what looked like business people preparing for their morning exercises. This was normal. Lake Michigan's shoreline attracted all types, from struggling students like her to wealthy professionals. Quickly drying off and changing back into her regular clothes, Maya checked her phone again. 7:10 a.m., right on schedule. She got just enough time to get home, shower, and help Tommy with his morning breathing exercises before school. Little did Maya know that this ordinary morning was about to become extraordinary, and her life would never be the same again. But for now, she was just another teenager heading home, her wet hair hidden under her hood, dreaming of a better future while doing everything in her power to make it happen. The morning had started like any other for Maya, but everything changed when she heard the splash. At first, she thought it was just another swimmer entering the water. Lake Michigan was getting busier as the sun rose higher, with more people arriving for their morning routines. But then she heard it. A desperate gasp followed by erratic splashing. Maya's lifeguard training instantly kicked in. She scanned the water and spotted a man thrashing about 50 yards from shore, much farther out than the usual swimmers ventured. Without hesitation, Maya dove back into the water. Her muscles were tired from her earlier practice, but adrenaline pushed her forward. As she got closer, she could see the man more clearly. He was Asian, probably in his 40s, wearing expensive swimming gear that stood out against the dark water. "Help!" he managed to call out between gasps. "Cramp. Can't." Maya reached him just as he started to go under. "I'm here to help," she said firmly, using the calm voice she'd learned during her lifeguard certification. "I'm going to support you. Try to relax." The man was panicking, which made the rescue more dangerous. Maya remembered her training. A drowning person could easily pull their rescuer down with them. She carefully positioned herself behind him, wrapping one arm across his chest while keeping her own head above water. "My leg," he sputtered, still struggling. "Severe cramp." Maya began the slow process of swimming backward, towing him toward shore. The man was heavier than anyone she'd practiced with, and the lake's currents seemed to fight against them. But Maya's years of training paid off. Her strokes remained steady and strong. On the beach, a small crowd had gathered. Someone was on their phone, presumably calling for help. Maya could hear distant sirens, but she knew they couldn't wait. Every second counted in a water rescue. As they got closer to shore, the man's breathing became more regular, though he was still unable to swim on his own. Maya continued her careful approach, making sure to keep them both above water while fighting the waves that pushed against them. Finally, Maya's feet touched sand. Two joggers waded in to help, supporting the man as they all made their way to shore. Once on the beach, the man collapsed onto the sand, coughing and shaking, but very much alive. "Thank you," he gasped, looking at Maya with intense gratitude. "I'm Marcus Chen. I don't know what happened. I swim here often, but today my leg just seized up." Maya nodded, catching her own breath. "I'm Maya Johnson. I'm glad I was here to help." She noticed his expensive smartwatch and designer swim gear. Clearly, he wasn't from her part of town. The paramedics arrived, but Marcus waved them away after a quick check. "I'm fine now, thanks to this young lady." He turned to Maya. "You're obviously a trained swimmer. Those rescue techniques were perfect." Maya shrugged, suddenly self-conscious. "I work as a lifeguard during summers. Plus, I'm on the school swim team." "Which school?" Marcus asked, seeming genuinely interested despite his recent brush with death. "Southside High," Maya replied, gathering her things. She needed to hurry home. This unexpected rescue had thrown off her morning schedule. Marcus's eyebrows rose slightly at the mention of her school, known for its struggling budget and high dropout rates. "Wait," he called as Maya started to leave. "Please, let me properly thank you. What you did was extraordinary." But Maya was already backing away. "Really, it's fine. I'm just glad you're okay. I have to get home. My brother needs help with his morning medical routine." Something in her words made Marcus look at her more closely. He pulled out a business card from his swim bag. "Please, take this. I'd like to thank you properly when you have time." Maya hesitated before accepting the card. In the growing morning light, she read, "Marcus Chen, CEO, Horizon Tech Solutions." Her eyes widened slightly, but she quickly tucked the card into her bag. "I really have to go," she said, already turning away. "Take care, Mr. Chen." As Maya hurried home, she didn't notice Marcus watching her leave, a thoughtful expression on his face. He pulled out his phone and made a quick call. "Janet, clear my morning schedule, and I need you to find out everything you can about a student named Maya Johnson from Southside High." Maya rushed through the door of their small apartment, her wet hair dripping onto the worn welcome mat. She was 20 minutes later than usual, and she could hear Tommy's breathing machine running in the bedroom. "Maya, is that you?" her mother called from the kitchen. Sarah Johnson appeared in the hallway, already dressed in her hospital cleaning uniform, concern etched on her tired face. "Where were you?" "Tommy's been asking for his big sister." "Sorry, Mom," Maya said, quickly explaining about the rescue. She kept it brief, downplaying the danger and leaving out the part about Marcus Chen being a CEO. Her mother had enough to worry about without adding her daughter's morning adventures to the list. "You're sure you're okay?" Sarah asked, giving her daughter a quick once-over. "You could have drowned yourself." Maya managed a reassuring smile. "Mom, I'm a certified lifeguard, remember? It's what I'm trained to do." She headed to Tommy's room, where her 12-year-old brother sat with his nebulizer mask on, attempting to do his math homework. "Hey, champ," Maya said, ruffling his hair. Tommy's eyes lit up despite the mask covering half his face. He gave her a thumbs up, unable to speak during his treatment. Maya helped him with his breathing exercises while simultaneously getting ready for school. It was a familiar dance. She'd grab an item of clothing between helping Tommy with his chest physiotherapy, check his oxygen levels while brushing her own teeth, and pack both their bags while making sure he finished his treatment properly. At school later that morning, Maya could hardly focus on her classes. The business card in her bag felt like it was burning a hole in her pocket. During lunch break, she finally pulled it out again, running her fingers over the embossed lettering. Horizon Tech Solutions was one of the biggest technology companies in Chicago. She'd seen their gleaming headquarters downtown, a world away from her neighborhood. Her best friend Keisha noticed her distraction. "Earth to Maya, what's that you're looking at?" Maya hesitated before showing her the card and explaining the morning's events. Keisha's eyes grew wider with each detail. "Girl, do you know who Marcus Chen is?" Keisha grabbed her phone and quickly pulled up an article. "He's worth billions. His company just launched some revolutionary medical software. It was all over the news." Maya shrugged, uncomfortable with the attention. "He probably gives these cards to everyone. It's not a big deal." But later that afternoon, during swim practice, Coach Thompson pulled her aside. "Maya, there's someone here to see you." To her surprise, Marcus Chen stood by the pool, looking completely recovered from his morning ordeal. He traded his swim gear for an expensive suit, but his friendly smile remained the same. "I hope you don't mind me stopping by," he said. "Your coach tells me you're the best swimmer he's ever trained." Maya shot a look at Coach Thompson, who merely nodded encouragingly. "Mr. Chen has some interesting proposals for you, Maya. I think you should hear him out." Marcus gestured to the bleachers. "Do you have a few minutes to talk? I did some research after our unexpected meeting this morning. Your academic record is impressive, especially considering your responsibilities at home." Maya felt her face warm. "You researched me. When someone saves your life, you want to know more about them," Marcus replied simply. "I understand your brother has bronchopulmonary dysplasia. That must be challenging for your family." Maya stiffened. "We manage just fine." "Of course you do," Marcus said quickly. "But I have a proposition that might make things a bit easier. You see, Horizon Tech has just developed new respiratory monitoring software. We're looking for beta testers, and I think your brother would be perfect for the program. Full medical coverage included, of course." Maya's heart skipped a beat. Tommy's current monitoring system was outdated, and they couldn't afford the newer models. "And," Marcus continued, "we have a comprehensive scholarship program for promising students. Your grades and swimming achievements more than qualify you." Maya sat in stunned silence, her mind racing with possibilities. Could this really be happening? But years of watching her mother struggle had taught her to be cautious. "Why would you do this?" she asked finally. Marcus's expression grew serious. "Because talent and determination like yours deserve a chance, and because sometimes, Maya, a random act of kindness can change everything. You showed me that this morning." That evening, Maya sat at their small kitchen table, the scholarship papers and medical program documents spread out before her. Her mother stood behind her, reading over her shoulder with trembling hands. "It seems too good to be true," Sarah whispered, picking up the medical coverage details for Tommy. The papers promised access to the newest respiratory monitoring system, monthly checkups with top specialists, and all medications covered. There must be a catch. Maya thought back to Marcus Chen's words at the pool. He had explained everything clearly. The scholarship would cover her full college tuition, room, and board at any university she got accepted to. The medical program would provide Tommy with cutting-edge care for the next 5 years, guaranteed. "Mom, I saw his office do the background check right there. They called the school, checked my swimming records, everything." Maya pulled out her phone, showing her mother the news articles Keisha had sent about Marcus Chen's company. "He's legitimate. This is real." From the living room couch, which doubled as his bed, Tommy watched them with hopeful eyes. His breathing was labored tonight. The old monitoring machine beat irregularly, a sound they'd all grown used to but never stopped worrying about. Sarah sank into a chair, her uniform still on from her evening shift at the diner. But why us? Why you? Because I saved his life, Mom, and… Maya hesitated, because he said he came from a background like ours. He knows what it's like to need a break. The window air conditioning unit sputtered and died, another reminder of their daily struggles. Sarah got up wearily to bang on it, a practiced motion that sometimes brought it back to life. This time, it remained silent. We need to sleep on it, Sarah decided, wiping sweat from her forehead. Big decisions shouldn't be made at midnight. But sleep didn't come easily to Maya that night. From her thin mattress on the floor of the room she shared with Tommy, she listened to her brother's breathing. The wheezing was worse than usual. The summer heat always made his condition deteriorate. Her phone lit up with a text from Keisha. "Did you tell your mom? What did she say?" Maya typed back. "She's worried. Says it's too good to be true. Girl, this is your chance, both for you and Tommy." Maya knew Keisha was right. The scholarship would mean she could focus on swimming and studying without worrying about how to help pay the bills. The medical program would give Tommy the care they'd only dreamed of affording. But years of watching her mother struggle had taught Maya that nothing came easy. She remembered the nights her mom thought they were asleep, when she'd sit at the kitchen table crying over bills, the times they'd had to choose between buying Tommy's medicines and paying the electric bill, the endless cycle of barely making it month to month. Rolling over, Maya could see the outline of the business card on her makeshift nightstand, a milk crate turned upside down. Marcus Chen had seemed sincere. His eyes had lit up watching her practice, and he talked about swimming with real knowledge and passion. Sometimes, he'd said, the universe puts the right people in the right place at the right time. A sudden coughing fit from Tommy broke through her thoughts. Maya was up instantly, helping him sit up, rubbing his back like she'd done countless times before. "I'm okay," Tommy wheezed once the coughing subsided. In the dim light from the street lamp outside, she could see him trying to smile. "Maya? That man today, he can really help us?" Maya felt tears prick her eyes. At 12, Tommy understood too much about their financial struggles. No kid should have to worry about the cost of staying alive. "Yeah, buddy. I think he can." "Then you should say yes," Tommy said simply, lying back down. "Mom will understand. She always says you're the smart one." Maya stayed awake long after Tommy's breathing evened out into sleep. Tomorrow, she decided, she would convince her mother to accept the offer. Not just for herself, but for all of them. Sometimes pride had to take a backseat to practicality. Outside, the city sounds created their familiar nighttime symphony, distant sirens, the rattle of the elevated train, voices from the street below. But for the first time in years, these sounds carried a hint of hope, a promise of change. And, a week after signing the paperwork, Maya stood in the hallway of Chicago's most prestigious children's hospital, watching through a window as doctors examined Tommy. The new respiratory monitoring device blinked steadily on his chest, its sleek design a stark contrast to their old machine. Sarah Johnson sat beside her, clutching a coffee cup with shaking hands. They'd both taken the day off, Maya from school and Sarah from both her jobs, for Tommy's first appointment with the specialist team. "Mrs. Johnson?" A nurse appeared with a tablet. "The doctors would like to discuss Tommy's new treatment plan, and," she paused, checking her screen, "Mr. Chen is here as well." Maya straightened up as Marcus Chen walked down the hallway, dressed more casually than she'd seen him before in jeans and a polo shirt. He carried a gift bag. "I hope you don't mind me stopping by," he said warmly. "I wanted to see how Tommy's first appointment was going." Sarah stood quickly, smoothing her worn dress. "Mr. Chen, we can't thank you enough. Please call me Marcus." He smiled, then turned to the window where Tommy was now sitting up, looking amazed as a doctor showed him how his new monitoring device connected to a smartphone app. "How's he doing?" "The doctors say his oxygen levels are already more stable with the new equipment," Maya reported. "They're adjusting his medication plan too." Marcus nodded, then held out the gift bag. "This is for Tommy, just a little something to make the hospital visits more entertaining." Inside was the latest gaming console, the kind Maya had seen Tommy staring at in store windows but had never dared to hope for. "Mr. Chen, this is too much," Sarah protested, but Marcus held up a hand. "My own mother worked 2 jobs when I was growing up," he said quietly. I know what it's like to watch a parent struggle, and I know what it's like when someone finally offers help. He paused, looking at Maya, though no one ever saved my life to earn it. The nurse returned, gesturing for Sarah to join the doctors. As she left, Marcus turned to Maya. How are you doing? Really? Maya thought about the past week, the relief of seeing Tommy's breathing improve with the new equipment, the strange feeling of not having to worry about medical bills for the first time in years, the excitement of working with a college counselor who was helping her apply to top universities. It's overwhelming, she admitted. Good overwhelming, but still. Marcus nodded understandingly. I have one more surprise. I've arranged for Olympic swimmer Michael Rodriguez to come work with you next month. He's an old friend, and when I told him about your talent, Maya's jaw dropped. Michael Rodriguez was her swimming idol. She watched videos of his techniques countless times. But that's not all, Marcus continued. The hospital has agreed to coordinate Tommy's appointments with your training schedule, and we've arranged for a car service to help your mother get to and from work, so she can be here for Tommy's treatments too. Maya felt tears threatening to spill. Everything was changing so fast, like a dream she was afraid to wake up from. Through the window, she watched as Tommy laughed at something the doctor said. His color was better than it had been in months, and the constant worry line between his eyebrows had smoothed out. Why are you doing all this? She asked finally, turning back to Marcus. The medical program and scholarship would have been more than enough. Marcus was quiet for a moment, watching Tommy too. When I was drowning that day, he said slowly, I had a moment where I thought, this is it. All my success, all my money, and none of it matters now. He turned to Maya. But then you appeared, this teenage girl who had every reason to focus on her own struggles, yet you didn't hesitate to help a stranger. He smiled. You reminded me of something important. That true wealth isn't about money. It's about what you do with it. You gave me a second chance at life, Maya. Let me give your family a second chance too. Before Maya could respond, Tommy spotted them through the window and waved excitedly, holding up his new monitoring device with pride. His smile was brighter than she'd seen in years, and in that moment, Maya knew their lives would never be the same again. The Johnsons' small apartment buzzed with an energy it hadn't known in years. Spread across their kitchen table were college acceptance letters from some of the nation's top universities, Stanford, MIT, Harvard, and Northwestern. Maya stared at them in disbelief while Tommy bounced excitedly in his chair, his new monitoring device blinking steadily. You could go anywhere, Tommy said, his breathing noticeably better than it had been a month ago. The new medications and monitoring system had worked wonders. Stanford has the best swimming program, though. I looked it up. Sarah Johnson sat quietly, touching each acceptance letter as if making sure they were real. The past 2 months had transformed their lives in ways she still couldn't quite believe. Mom, Maya watched her mother carefully. What do you think? Sarah took a deep breath. I think it's time we talked about you leaving Chicago. The words hung in the air. Before Marcus Chen's intervention, leaving Chicago had seemed impossible. Maya had planned to attend community college while working to help support the family. But what about you and Tommy? Maya asked, voicing her biggest concern. As if on cue, there was a knock at the door. Marcus Chen stood there, holding a folder and wearing his now familiar friendly smile. Over the past months, his visits had become regular, each bringing new possibilities for the family. I hope I'm not interrupting, he said, accepting the cup of coffee Sarah offered. I wanted to discuss something important with all of you. He opened the folder and spread out several documents. I've been thinking about Tommy's care long term. The medical program is working well, but I have a proposal that could make things even better. The family listened as Marcus explained his idea. Horizon Tech was opening a new medical research facility in California, just 20 minutes from Stanford's campus. They were looking for families to participate in their respiratory care program. If you're interested, Marcus said, looking at Sarah, we could arrange for you and Tommy to relocate to California. The program includes housing, and I know the hospital is looking for experienced cleaning staff with medical facility knowledge. Sarah's hands trembled as she picked up the documents. You mean, we could all move? Stay together? Marcus nodded. Tommy would have access to the best care available. You'd have a stable job with better hours and benefits. And Maya, he smiled at her, Maya could attend Stanford without worrying about being too far from family. Maya felt her heart racing. Stanford had been her dream school, but the thought of leaving her family behind had been weighing heavily on her mind. But why? Sarah asked, still struggling to accept such generosity. You've already done so much. Marcus leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. When I was young, someone gave my family a chance. One opportunity changed everything for us. He looked at Maya. Your daughter saved my life, Mrs. Johnson. But more than that, she reminded me of what's truly important. Sometimes success isn't just about making money, it's about using that money to make a difference. Tommy, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly spoke up. Mom, remember when you said we should always grab onto good things when they come our way? Like when Maya got her first swimming medal. Sarah smiled at the memory, wiping away tears. I did say that, didn't I? Maya reached across the table and took her mother's hand. We could do this, Mom. Together. No more choosing between medicine and rent. No more double shifts. Just a fresh start. The room fell quiet as Sarah looked around at her children, at the acceptance letters, at the medical documents promising a better future for Tommy. Finally, she turned to Marcus. When would we need to decide? Take your time, Marcus replied, standing to leave. The opportunity isn't going anywhere. But, he smiled at Maya, Stanford's swimming season starts in August. After Marcus left, the Johnsons sat together in their small living room, talking late into the night about possibilities they'd never dared to imagine before. Outside, Chicago's familiar sounds filled the air, but for the first time, they felt like a goodbye rather than a constant companion. Tomorrow, they would begin planning their new life in California. But tonight, they simply held on to each other, a family on the brink of their biggest adventure yet. The California sun felt different from Chicago's. Maya noticed this as she stood on the balcony of their new apartment, watching Tommy play basketball in the courtyard below. His new friends from the medical program had quickly accepted him into their group, and his laughter floated up to her, clear and strong without any wheezing. 3 months had passed since their move, and the changes were remarkable. Their apartment in the medical housing complex was spacious and modern, with 3 bedrooms and a view of the mountains. Sarah worked regular hours at the research facility now, no longer needing 2 jobs to make ends meet. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from her swimming coach at Stanford. Ready for morning practice? Big meet this weekend. She smiled, remembering her first day at the university's Olympic-sized pool. The facilities were beyond anything she'd imagined during those early morning practices in Lake Michigan. Her teammates had welcomed her warmly, impressed by her times and determination. Maya, Tommy called from below. Look what I can do. He dribbled the basketball with confidence, his monitoring device barely visible under his t-shirt. The latest version was smaller, waterproof, and connected directly to the research facility's medical team. Sarah appeared in the doorway, wearing her new supervisor's uniform. The research facility had quickly recognized her experience and promoted her to oversee the cleaning staff. Ready for dinner? I'm thinking we could try that new restaurant near the plaza. Going out to eat. It was still a novelty they were getting used to. No more counting every penny or saving restaurant meals for special occasions only. As they walked to the restaurant, Maya noticed how differently her mother carried herself now. The constant worry lines had softened, and she smiled more easily. Even her walk was more relaxed, no longer bearing the weight of endless financial struggles. Their phones buzzed simultaneously. A group message from Marcus. He had set up a family chat to stay in touch, checking in regularly despite his busy schedule. Great news. His message read, Tommy's latest test results are exceptional. The new treatment protocol is working better than expected. Also, Maya, looking forward to watching your meet this weekend. The whole team at Horizon Tech will be streaming it. At the restaurant, as they settled into their booth, Tommy couldn't stop talking about his new science club at school. The local middle school had advanced programs for students in the medical research program, and Tommy was thriving. And guess what? He announced. Dr. Rivera says I might be able to join the swim team next semester. My lung function is strong enough now. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. Swimming had always been her thing, her escape. The idea of sharing it with Tommy, of him being healthy enough to compete, was more than she'd ever hoped for. Sarah reached across the table and squeezed her daughter's hand. "None of this would have happened if you hadn't been at the lake that morning," she said softly. "Your courage changed everything for us." Maya thought back to that morning, how ordinary it had seemed at first. "I just did what anyone would have done," she replied. "No," Sarah shook her head. "You did what you were meant to do. And Marcus, he did more than just save our family, he showed us how to dream bigger." Their dinner was interrupted by another message from Marcus. This one included a link to a news article about Horizon Tech's medical research program. The headline read, "Revolutionary respiratory treatment shows promising results in young patients." Tommy's photo was featured prominently, alongside quotes from his doctors about his remarkable progress. The article mentioned how the program was expanding, ready to help more families like theirs. As Maya read the article, she felt a deep sense of purpose settling over her. Her swimming scholarship wasn't just about sports anymore, it was about being part of something bigger. She was majoring in biomedical engineering, inspired by the technology that had changed her brother's life. The California sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks as they walked home that evening. Tommy raced ahead, his breathing strong and steady, while Sarah and Maya walked arm in arm. "Are you happy?" Sarah asked softly. Maya looked at their new life, the comfortable home waiting for them, the opportunities ahead, the sound of Tommy's laughter, and smiled. "More than I ever thought possible, Mom. More than I ever thought possible." 4 years passed in what felt like the blink of an eye. On a bright spring morning, Maya stood at Stanford's graduation podium, delivering the valedictorian speech to her graduating class. In the audience, Tommy, now a tall, healthy 16-year-old, sat between Sarah and Marcus Chen, all of them beaming with pride. "4 years ago, I was just a girl who loved swimming," Maya began, her voice clear and confident. "I grew up practicing in Lake Michigan, dreaming of a better future for my family. Then one morning, a random act of kindness changed everything." She caught Marcus's eye in the crowd. He nodded encouragingly, the same warm smile on his face that she'd seen that fateful morning when she pulled him from the lake. "But today isn't just about my graduation," Maya continued. "It's about announcing something special. With the support of Horizon Tech and Marcus Chen, I'm launching the Johnson Foundation for Accessible Healthcare and Sports Development." The audience broke into applause. Maya waited for it to quiet before explaining how the foundation would provide swimming lessons, sports opportunities, and medical care to underprivileged children with respiratory conditions. "Because sometimes," she said, "all it takes is one person believing in you to change everything." After the ceremony, as families gathered for photos and celebrations, Tommy rushed to hug his sister, his monitoring device barely visible under his dress shirt. He was already taller than Maya now, and captain of his high school swim team. "Did you tell them about the expansion plans?" he asked excitedly. The foundation would be opening its first facility in South Chicago, right in their old neighborhood. Sarah joined them, tears streaming down her face. She no longer looked tired or worried. Years of stability and good fortune had transformed her into a confident, joyful woman. As supervisor of patient care services at the research facility, she now helped other families navigate their medical journeys. Marcus approached with a small gift box. "For the new CEO of the Johnson Foundation," he said, handing it to Maya. Inside was a key card. "Your new office," he explained, "top floor of Horizon Tech's medical division. The foundation deserves the best facilities to start its mission." Maya hugged him tightly. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." "No," Marcus corrected gently. "You did this. I just opened a door. You're the one who walked through it and held it open for others to follow." Later that evening, at a celebration dinner, Maya's phone buzzed with an email. The first group of children had been selected for the Foundation's program. 15 kids from her old neighborhood in Chicago, all with respiratory conditions similar to what Tommy had faced. "Look," she showed Tommy the list. "Remember Michael Torres? Your old classmate from middle school? His little sister is in the program." Tommy grinned. "Full circle, just like you always wanted." Maya looked around the table, at her mother, who now helped other cleaning staff advance their careers, at Tommy, whose medical data had helped develop treatments that would help thousands of other children, at Marcus, who had shown them how success could be used to lift others up. "You know what's amazing?" she said. "That morning at the lake, I thought I was just saving one person. I had no idea I was actually saving our whole family, and now, so many other families too. Sarah reached for her daughter's hand. You always had it in you, Maya. The kindness, the determination, the strength. Marcus just helped us all see it. Marcus raised his glass. To Maya Johnson, Stanford valedictorian, swimming champion, and now the youngest CEO in our medical division's history. And to the Johnson Foundation. May it change as many lives as Maya changed mine. As they celebrated late into the night, Maya thought about all the early mornings she'd spent in Lake Michigan, dreaming of a better life. She'd achieved that dream and created something even bigger, a way to help other families like hers. Tomorrow, she would begin her work at the foundation. There would be challenges ahead, but she was ready for them. After all, she was still that same girl who didn't hesitate to dive into deep water when someone needed help. The California night was warm and full of promise. Somewhere in Chicago, 15 families were receiving life-changing phone calls, and Maya Johnson, the girl who once saved a CEO from drowning, was about to start saving many more lives in her own way.